Dear God, thank you so much for bringing us today in the studio. Thank you for honoring this platform with one of the many bright and beautiful minds we have here on campus. Make sure that your light will shine through us and encourage us to be open and honest, with each other, and encourage our listeners to become part of this conversation. Let it be a nourishment for our souls, also the souls that are listening from wherever and whenever. Amen. Welcome, Akwaba, to the studios of Central Life.
Thank you.
I have here Andrew's Ni Martey.
Yeah,
That's your full name, right?
Martey. Yeah, that's my full name.
Exactly. I know you as Andy. We've met during your national service here on campus. You're doing your national service at Human Resources.
Yes.
And you went for an extension, right?
Yes.
So it's already the second year.
Yeah, the second year of the extension.
Exactly. So how is it to work in that office?
Well, it's a new experience, especially for someone without an HR background. Yes, it's a new experience and a challenging one. But all the same, it's been an educative and an interesting experience. So yeah, I'm glad. I got an extension. I worked there. So
You're a graduate from Environment and Development Studies.
yes.
So how come somebody from EDS, that's how we call it,
Yes.
right? How come somebody from EDS ends up in an HR office?
So yeah, it all began. After graduating, you embark on your national service, which is a compulsory 1 year service to the nation. So after that, I actually got posted to MPS, that port, Tema Port. So I went there just to follow up on, if I would be accepted, and I was declined because according to them, their numbers were increased. I mean, they had their limited number of people. Yeah. So I just decided to come back to school and then seek assistance if there's any opportunity for me here. And then I ended up with HR. So I believe there was service, so it doesn't matter where you end up, as long as you were able to learn and then pick up from where you left off and get some bit of experiences here and there. Yes, I didn't mind, but all the same, I've learned something, so nothing is wasted.
What is the most important thing that you've learned in that office?
Well, I would say, character-wise, I would say tolerance, because it's a human institution. HR is strictly a human institution. If you don't have the spirit of tolerance, regardless of how good you are in the practice of HR, your character would give you out and you'd mess up the whole thing. So you should be tolerant as possible.
Tolerant towards who?
Towards the staff, towards the employees. I won't say I'm in a high ranking position or in a high level, but whoever works in HR should have that quality, yes, in them. Because it's a human institution. If they come seeking for assistance or help, you should be able, and you should be regardless of how they come in, whether agitated, angry, happy, whichever emotions they come in with, you are responsible for receiving it and how best you can, give it back. Yes. So it's very important to have that quality tolerance.
Are there a lot of people coming in the office very angry, or?
Well, as I said, it's a human institution and it's a working community, so certain policies may not lie well for others and they may lie well for some. So you don't expect everybody coming to the room to be joyful. Yes, some may come with their problems and their grievances. So yeah, I would say it's an unpredictable office. Yes, you might be working hard, thinking people are happy, but some might be having grievances that you're unaware of. So you should be in a very good position to expect anything at all, and be in a good position again to see how best you can address the problem.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of staff members, right? How big is do you know the numbers?
Well, last I checked, both faculty and admin staff should be around 400 plus.
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't think it will be up to 500 from Neutral Campus, Kumasi, Martey, and then the Christ Temple. Yes, the various campuses.
Wow.
Around 350, 400.
And such a tiny office is serving all these
Exactly.
people, the over almost 500. Wow.
Yes.
I come to your office many times because, of course, there are a lot of things that I have to take care of,
Very necessary.
and not always with anger, I hope.
Oh no, not at all.
I usually put on a smile because usually I need you guys to help me out. But I always see you, not only you, but also you and your colleagues, very, very busy. Sometimes they even come, and especially during COVID, during the lockdown, I could. This office was always open. Maybe not everybody was there, but at least either you were there or another staff member was there. I think I could say it's maybe even the most hardworking office on campus because it's always so very busy, and then at the same time it's also the most helpful office in the sense that even though you guys are very busy, you're always willing to help us out. Would that also be the same assessment that you would have of the HR office if you compare it to other offices?
Of course, I won't be subjective. I'll be very objective because HR is a very hardworking office. That I can really really confirm to. But I won't undermine the fact that other offices are equally working in their capacity to meet the university's target. You see, but from where I'm coming from and from what I've observed, you don't. If you are if you're a lazy person, I don't see you surviving in that office at all because the environment in itself wouldn't accommodate that kind of behavior. Yes, it wouldn't accommodate that kind of behavior. So, as you said, yeah, we also offer assistance and support to staff who need the assistance when it's deemed necessary. But yeah, all the same, I won't be subjective. HR is equally working, other offices are working equally in their capacity. So, yes.
Exactly. And are there things you can take with you? I mean, I still expect that you want to do something within your own field of interest, right? So, is there something that you can take with you when you are going to be out there and applying for jobs in your own interest, which is environment and development, working for the community, I think, right? So, what can you take with you?
Um, well, a lot of learning. So I basically in HR I've learned about performance appraisal. I've learned about training and development. I've learned what to expect when you are recruiting people, how to you know align or arrange documents in order that it won't confuse you, how to be very vigilant. Vigilance is very important in HR, very very important because it's a I would say it carries a lot of legal implications. Yes, whatever you do, whatever you touch, whatever information or data you're exposed to has legal implications. So I've learned a lot, and I believe for me, one philosophy I believe in is that everything is interrelated. Yes. So regardless of the field you find yourself in, there's one or two things you can pick from there. For example, the examples I gave, yes, that you can add up to to a field of study. So environment and development, they are, I would say, one is a definite um, something which is definite that we came to meet the environment as it is development, I mean creation by God. And then development is the gradual changes we human beings initiate. You understand? So merging the two would require a human being to execute it. So finding myself in HR, I would say, is not a mistake because you need to understand the human being in order to address environmental and developmental issues. You can't do without the any of them because the moment you mention environment, you mention development, there should be a human involved. The the human resource involved should be able to understand the interrelation between environment and development. What to do? What we shouldn't be too ambitious to the extent of developing at the expense of the environment. Neither should we be so focused on the environment to the extent that we cannot develop. So we need to see or come to an equilibrium or a middle line, and then be able to draw all these options and then see how best we can operate sustainably.
Well said. Well said and explained. And this is exactly the reason why I asked you for this interview, because this is the kind of awareness I think that we need. Like that people see that it's not only, of course, HR that is a human institution, but it's also many other areas that is a human institution. I think a whole school is also a human institution, right?
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the schooling that you have done. Where did you start? Where did you primary school and secondary school? What has been your training?
That's very back. Well, my kindergarten, crèche, nursery began at the Dex Educational Institute. It's at Community 8, Tema. Yes, Community 8 at Tema. Yeah, I think I left Dex class 4, yes, primary 4, to First Star Academy. Yes, at Community 12, 11, yeah, around the place. So, I would say upper primary began from First Star, then to JHS, Junior High School, and then to Senior High School, St. Peter's Senior High School, then to Central University, and yeah, so far so good.
What has been your best experience?
Well, I would say my very best experience was in high school.
And why was that?
I would say because I was away from home, and it was my first time away from home, and a lot of decisions, and I would say my grooming, my actual grooming began there. The test of my grooming began there.
How old were you?
I would say when I got to St. Peter's, I was like 15. Yeah, 15 years. Yes, I was 15
Till?
From one.
From 15 till what? How old were you?
To 18, 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, it was my first time away from home, and you see, this is a serious issue. I live at Afienya. Okay, it's somewhere around Michelle Camp here in the Greater Accra region. So back then, the Eastern Accra Road was not completed, so it was a rough road, especially at Nsawam. Yes, so we could take 4 to 5 hours before getting to school. Yeah, so it was a lot of challenge, and still away from home, because there's not a situation where you can go to school and decide to come home anytime you want. Yeah, so I would say, it was challenging, a different environment, but it toughened me up. The teachers there also groomed me, which I would say transcended to the university. That kind of grooming, sank down, which actually helped me here in the university. I was self-disciplined, knew when to have my leisure time, knew when to study, and knew the effort I needed to study. Yes, so I had everything, I would say, from St. Peter's High School.
So you were talking about St. Peter's. How did the grooming look like?
Okay, so St. Peter's is a single-sex boys' school, in Kwewun Kwetia, yes, on the mountains. So and it's actually, it was established on a very strong Catholic foundation. It's a Catholic school, and you know how this is no news. Catholic schools have, basically Orthodox schools have that strict and disciplined, foundation, from Presbyterian schools, Methodist schools, Anglican schools, as well as the Catholic schools. So, St. Peter's basically, as young as I was now exposed to new experiences, new ideas, a new environment. And also coming from a background of Presbyterians, both parents are Presbyterians. I myself, I am a Presbyterian. So both coming from that background wasn't too difficult to adapt to the environment, and I understood the nature of the environment in St. Peter's. I understood the language. Yes. So over there, it's St. Peter's is actually known to be academically good. It's a very good school. It's ranked one of the Class A schools in Ghana. Yes, they do a national science and maths quiz as well. It's well known, and academically you're expected to perform. And this is a school where a lot of brilliant, young-minded um, students meet. So you're competing with each other. So the competition is tight, and you meet teachers who not just develop you academically, they build your mind. The environment itself builds your courage. If you are fearful, you can't go to St. Peter's. Although it's a very safe environment, but it's more in a natural setting. You see the forests, you're exposed to certain insects, and but it builds you. It's a human thing.
But how can you build somebody's mind? Is it enough just to place the person in that kind of environment, or what are the things that you were doing? What are the activities that you were doing that was building your mind and building your character?
Okay, so yeah, I'll come there, but I was on the environment aspect.
Sorry,
because it was something personal.
Yeah,
you understand? Yes. So it being because I'm naturally very careful. I won't say I'm a fearful person. Yes, but I'm very very careful. So and I used to get afraid of these petty insects, but over there it's really it built me, it manned me up. Let me put it that way. Yeah. So aside that, the activities, we had the debating club, we had an environment related club, a lot of activities, but I was mostly into um, the debate and then the choir. I was part of the choir. And St. Peter's was, although there were other activities, but it was so tight to the extent that you could hardly make time for clubs, and because you're mostly on your books, like you were mostly on your books. And so the choir was another way to release stress. It really helped me. The choir really really helped me, and I had been in the choir from throughout my 3 years in high school till I became secretary for the choir. Yes. So and the choir was a very good choir. It really we encouraged.
How often did you rehearse?
Like 2-3 times in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like 2-3 times in a week. That's how often we rehearsed. And funny enough, too, I found myself in a circle of friends who were mentally and academically good, very good. In literature class, I read general arts in school, so my electives were literature, geography, history, and then ecummentary, the Ghanaian language. Yes. So in the literature class especially, we were encouraged to be creative. Honestly, I would say the fluency of my and the flow of my English and my writing and all of that developed as a result of the literature class, because we had our teacher was called Simple Man. That's his nickname, Simple Man. He's very very articulate, very fluent in the English. The way he speaks it, the way he presents it, you can see, not just, you don't see it as a language, you see it as a form of art. The way he can just describe a mere pen, and then you'll be surprised, like, was it describing a pen? And so it really really got me intrigued, and I decided to no, I just need to be serious with this thing. So it encouraged me. I started writing poems of my own. I had a friend, Kingsley Autry. He's very very brilliant as well. He ended up he was also musically inclined, very very good with music. So he also went to Legon to read music. Yes, he did very very well as well. So most of my friends, geography, literature, so that kind of environment built me mentally. I really understood certain things I didn't know before, learned a lot. You understand? So yeah, I would say St. Peter's, and the discipline there. In fact, I'll just quickly take you through a day in St. Peter's. Yes, we wake up. If you are so like, let's say you are late, say 5 o'clock, dawn 5 o'clock, you should be awake. You prepare your bath. By 6, you are in the classroom. Yes, you're in the classroom. Like morning preps, like that kind of thing. 7 o'clock is 7. Yeah, it's I would say assembly. No, dining. Yeah, I think we take breakfast before. It's been a while. Yeah, but we go for classes. Then before breakfast, then we come back to class till in the afternoon. Then after afternoon classes, we go for lunch. After lunch, we call something crash. So after lunch, we have like say 1 hour, 2 hours break. Then we come back to class.
What would you do during the break?
You prepare. You wash down. You get yourself. If you can take say 30 minutes nap. Maybe you're so stressed. Yeah, you do that. If you have you have unfinished business, you use that period. Yeah. So that's the break. That was what the break was for. Then you go for the crash afternoon classes, which was paid by the Parent Teacher Association, PTA. So it wasn't part of the government. Yes, it was because we needed to catch up and then learn more. You understand? Yes. So
For tutorials.
for tutorials.
Mhm.
Yes, for tutorials. Yeah. So I think then we come back to after the crash, the afternoon classes. We come back. We come to the dining hall for supper. Yes. Then after that, preps. There's another break. Then prep, evening preps till 9. And in St. Peter's we have something called after prep. Yeah, after preps. That's after 9 o'clock. If you want to do long preps or whatever. Yeah. Yes. So it really, really helped.
Do you still have contact with friends from St. Peter's?
Yes, I do. A lot of them.
It's a tight group of boys.
Yeah, yeah. And funny enough, when you could clearly see even in almost all the boys' school, when it gets to National Science and Math School, is the way the alumni and the old boys are all rooting for their schools, and bragging, who has the bragging rights. Yeah. So it's a very good feeling. Yeah, and that's where you actually get to know a person for who they are. Okay, I can't say much for uni because I didn't stay in a hostel. I was alone, so I wouldn't say I had that kind of contact. But academically and in other activities, social activities and extracurricular activities, I had contacts in uni. But for school, you really get to know a person for who they really are because you can't hide who you really are for 3 years. If whoever is able to pull that off might not be human, seriously, for 3 years. So you really get to know people for who they really are. Yes, so that's how come you're able to keep contact. But I have good friends too back in junior high school, very, very close friends. Very, very close friends as well. So and all the same, it's been a good experience.
And then after that, after St. Peter's, you went to Central University, right?
Yes.
Did you see the difference between you and other students? See that difference between you and other people who didn't have the same, who didn't went through a very good school with a very good curriculum and good teachers and a healthy environment?
Yes, I would say yes, because there was that gap. But there was one thing about me, when I came first year, because the way St. Peter's was very competitive. I would like to very, very, you could put your all and you go and check the order of merit, then you are somewhere. Like, you understand what I mean?
You're somewhere below the
Exactly.
line, below the ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, and you're expecting to be, part of the top, Yeah, but it all took strive and yeah. So I assumed when I came here it would be almost similar. You understand? Because I'm now I'm not under the control of the headmasters and head teachers and teachers, hey, you do this, it's time for that. You had everything controlled. Now you're on your own, you're exposed to the world. You have your freedom, let me put it that way. So you are now responsible for everything you do. The time you wake up, when to study. So I had to, from that discipline, had to, apportion. And I wouldn't say the people who ended up in class really didn't have that same experience. There's a different thing to have the experience and then implement, use or capitalize on that experience, and then there's another thing to have it, get that exposure and then not capitalize on it. So I wouldn't blame any of them, but I decided it was a decision to build on that same platform.
Is it a conscious decision?
It was a conscious decision, yeah. It was and I had targets, especially with me coming from an arts background. I wouldn't say I didn't really like science. I didn't really like some portion of science, but I really loved biology. I loved some part of physics and some part of chemistry. It was just selective, you know. But when I came out the first year, I had to do biology, physics, chemistry, and I was like, I thought this was a social science program. I was really, really surprised, and I knew there was a lot of demand. The program really demanded a lot. So I had to take it upon myself and then be at the library most of the time. But there were equally good people, brilliant students in the class. Yes. Yes.
I want to go back to the decision making because I think that's an important part of your story. What motivated you?
Well, I'll be very honest with you. I won't say I saw myself as to end up. You know, in in fact, in St. Peter's, we are all encouraged to do our best. Your best may pay off, your best may not pay off. Just do your best. So it was the same mindset I came here with. Instead, I was trying my best, doing my best. So it was the same mindset I came here. I was like, no, I have to do my very best. Very, very best. So with that kind of mindset, I wasn't seeing to maybe be, extremely brilliant or very good. I just wanted to see how far I can go with my efforts, how far my efforts would take me. So that was what I did, and I started pushing, and I realized my efforts were paying off in my grades, in how I understood, um, you know, lectures, how I related with people. You understand? Because at the end of the day, it won't be if I was competing with someone, and the person was always topping, I will be disturbed, and I'm like that. When so now I don't like competitions. It's healthy. I like healthy competitions are encouraged, but I wouldn't say you should have somebody to use as your benchmark. You should be your benchmark. So what happens if you are the one leading? Does it end there? Yes, you need to build. You should be better than you were before. So it started reflecting in my grades. Even if you should see my transcript, level 100 to level 100 first second semester wasn't that bad, you know. Level 200 it wasn't that bad. 300 I had a part time job to be teaching in a junior high school. They were preparing for their final basic education certificate examination. So I needed to assist in English and social studies. So it affected my grades. It really, really did affect my grades. That particular semester, a lot of my friends did well, but I wouldn't say I didn't do well, but it wasn't me. As I said, it wasn't my best because I didn't give it the needed attention because I had divided time. Sometimes when I need to teach these students whose life, in fact, whose foundations need to be on a good foundation because they are now entering senior high school. Yes, I needed to choose them over me. You understand? Because I knew I could maneuver my way with that, regardless of what happens. But these are children who, in the Ghanaian system, if they don't land good senior high schools, might affect them. There's I don't know, but government is currently reforming the educational system. I'm diverting a little bit if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
Yes. And before, there was the thriving senior high schools who had the best, public figures and, people in reputable institutions working. It's because of the system we have here. The Class C, Class D schools, Category C and D schools were not, you know, coming up with such people because the system wasn't giving room for them. You understand? And that was mainly dependent on the student because some of those schools are under resourced. The in the areas of maybe facilities and teachers. You understand? So I think this recent government is trying to, transform and bring a change into this, and I believe it's a start.
So you would encourage the reform?
I would encourage the reform, not verbally, because we are used to hearing when it's verbal, it sounds nice, but when it's being implemented, it's poor. So if we see progress, that's when we'll see how best it goes.
Are you talking about the Common Core program? That kind of reform plan? Are you talking about that?
The one they had
the
a
Common
briefing
Core
on Sunday.
I don't know if they had a briefing on Sunday, but I do know that the Minister of Education has been talking about it and making several speeches about it.
Yeah.
So in that program, they want to have more practicum in there,
Yes,
right?
more practical, yeah. Especially support the TVET schools. Yes. It's a very good initiative because I've heard of TVET. I didn't hear TVET until 2017-18. Yes. So I think they should be encouraged. Polytechnics should be resourced enough so we can have more practicals than theoretical. Because I can't remember when St. Peter's won the National Science in 2018. Yes, 2018. Was it 2019 or 2020? One of them. The the quiz mistress, according to her, she said one of the boys, the St. Peter's boys, told her that when they went for they went for an international championship, what they were doing, they had no idea. They were lost. And it was a competition. And they had won here, nationals, and they get there and they are lost. Why? Because it's practical. But if you should ask them to explain, they would give you the breakdown, feed you with every information you need. But to put it to work is another issue. And that's a problem that transcends from primary to the university level here in Ghana. You understand? So as a student, it's mostly your ability to, your seriousness would show whether you would pick practical stuff quickly. You see, so I believe it's a good way to go.
For my own clarification, what is TVET?
Technical vocational educational institutes, that kind of, yes.
I get it. All the practical schools.
The practical, from hairdressing, carpentry, masonry, all of them, they are under TVET.
Yeah, you're being trained to perform manual labor.
Yeah, manual labor, but I believe, technology is we are transforming. Things are changing in a dynamic environment. Yes, culture is dynamic as well. So I'm sure they should introduce these new technologies to build.
It's highly advanced.
Highly advanced, yes, so that it could make them more efficient.
Yeah. So it's not only working with your hands, but also working with your minds and coming up with practical solutions. Yes. Could you see that students in your class here at Central were struggling with that? We're struggling with, or maybe you yourself, struggling with applying the knowledge?
Yes, a lot of times. And it got to a point where I did my internship with Ghana Port and Harbour Authority in Tema. Yes, and funny enough, the department I was sent to, monitoring and control department, what I learned here in school, none of them applied on the field. None. Like none. Not even one. I would say probably the only part in the environment we do pollution and all. Fine. That is a secondary matter. But I mean the actual practical. I learned most of the stuff on field. The research and statistics aspects, I learned it there. You see, so, and that's the only exposure I've had. I wouldn't know for other programs, but with EDS, it's very, very difficult to break through here in this country because their avenues and opportunities are not really available. It's very, very difficult because right now, if you should apply for a job, they'll be expecting 2 years experience, 3 years working experience, and I'm like, we just finished school. We've never had any exposure. So which company should come and accommodate us and train us for you to employ? Who does that job? There is no, proper transitioning into the working environment. You see, so, and there's a lot of gap between academia and the industry. That's one thing I'm so much passionate and concerned about. So one day, if God does me well and I make it in life, I will try to bridge that gap, regardless of the disciplinary I find myself in. Academic discipline I find myself in, regardless, I will try to bridge that gap because it's very important.
How would you bridge that gap if you have the chance?
I believe people in industry should merge with people in academia more often. We should, if lectures and you come for lectures and then, I wish I had come to lectures and I saw somebody from Talo Ghana, maybe one of their trainees, like one of their trainers and then he's standing there, or their workers, he's well, informed in that area to lecture us for the day on a particular topic. I'm sure that the topics and stuff that these lecturers teach us are, from the field,
Are useful,
are
yeah.
useful for the field. So if there's there can be that collision, to integrate the two, and then we have because I quite remember one environmental impact assessment, EIA. Yes, one lecturer of ours, she managed to get a resource person from EPA to lecture us on scheduling, like their schedules, project schedules. And funny enough, for that particular period of time, I understood everything so easily because he is there. He knows what's happening. You understand? So he's able to teach us and transcend that knowledge easily for us to grasp. You understand? So till now, I remember scheduling which projects are on schedule one, which projects are schedule two, or which if it's highly if it's an industrial kind of project that would result in pollution, it has its own schedule. So, and all of them have, every level has its own demands, and paperwork, what you need to meet, the environmental standards. Each project has its own demand. So I really, really learned a lot from that session. I wish it had cut across most of the lectures, but I didn't. And fortunately for us too, we had exposure to field trips, which helped. Yeah, field trips to Takoradi Port, to Daboase, Daboase, to Daboase, and then the water project, the water plant, yes, at Takoradi. So we really learned a lot for that period. But aside that, what experience do we have? We don't have any experience, and then we are just there, and then yeah, we are just there.
When you did do your internship and you realized that nothing that you had learned in class, you could use it during your internship, did you give that feedback to your lecturers or the school or?
To be honest, Miss Elizabeth, it didn't really occur to me. I felt unbothered. I would say I was naive as of the time, because I was also frustrated by the fact that I got there and I couldn't apply anything I'd learned. But what gave me solace was because I was a fast learner. I'm a fast learner, practically. I can learn quickly. And you could see from the group of people I'd come with, I ended up teaching my colleague interns how to, key in certain things, how to work in, yeah. So that helped me, but I wouldn't know for other people who are not fast learners like me what happens to them. Yes, so I really didn't cross my mind to share with any of the lecturers.
But you shared it with your classmates.
I did, and they also shared their experiences. Some were like, when they got there, they were lost. People from other students from KNUST were doing this and doing that, and they were just there. And like, see the gap, because tech is known for technology and this practical. So definitely they'll be privy to such opportunities, unlike we here. So I just it's unfortunate. It's just unfortunate, and funny enough, people go through such training. Some manage to pull off. Come out from that trench of I would say ignorance. Yes, and then build themselves up to find no job at the end of the day. So it's a very, very technical area.
What is your overall opinion about your Central University certificate? Is it still, when you look at it, is it still useful to you? Is it still, will it get you anywhere?
Um, that's a very interesting question. It may seem easy to answer, but it's not. Yes, because with this particular degree, I didn't intend to read environment and development studies. You may not know, but I didn't intend to read. I intended to read law. Yes, I intended to read law.
Then what happened?
My cousin actually was intended to go to university the same year, and law, the fees, it's quite high. So for us to go to school the same year, and my dad being able to pay his fees at the same time as mine, I just decided to go for a program that's less expensive but equally effective, that I can build from to read law and major in that area. So I decided to read environment and development studies. Yes, so I got it and I finished. I've completed. So that was in the main reason. But in the course of the program, I mean, in the period of the during the program, I developed interest because it was an area people were not really focusing on. But it's a very very important and sensitive area that needs to be dealt with. You see, that needs to be dealt with. Because environment and development, it's one, and Central did very well combining the two. In most universities, you just find environmental science, you find environment and resource management, but all fall under environment and development. If you can't find a common ground to accommodate the two and harmonize them in a way that would be sustainable, then we are doing everything wrong. You see, so it was a very good program. But when I'm done with the program, I have no experience, and most companies are requiring me to have 3 to 4 years experience. I don't see any, future. But for me, having been in the HR for 2 years, at least I can say I have 2 years experience in HR. So why not just continue and build on a master's? And I forget the environment, and we keep finding ourselves in the business sector and forget the environment is sustainable, agenda. So I'm really, really concerned about this University of Environment and Development um, studies. Yeah, at Dodowa, is it Dodowa or somewhere like so many? Yes, I'm really concerned because if there's no avenue or a platform where these students can go and learn practically and then build on their experience and be accommodated in the job space, then what's the university there for? You understand? Even with we in the various universities, Kenya University, Central, Legon, and other universities reading something related to environment and natural resources and development, we are not even getting the opportunity and the chance. So what happens to the university over there? So it's a very big issue that the government has to address immediately. Immediately. It's high time we stop bringing out external or foreign experts to come and determine the soil quality and the water quality. We should be doing that in the university level. Air pollution, by there are certain things we should just get on we should have on our fingertips, but the exposure isn't there. You understand? And the experience, because you learn this in school, you get to the field and they're like, oh, it's different. What you have learned is, oh, this a cake.
You say that the avenues are not there. Are you concerned that you won't get a job in your field of interest in the environment and development studies?
I am very concerned, Miss Elizabeth. 4 years. 4 years. I'm like, the money. If I'm able to gather that 4 years of money, like the money from that 4 years, do you know I would have established a huge company by now that is making me money or fetching me money. But it's been invested in the education, something the government is so much concerned about. And now I've invested it in education. I'm well informed, but practically I have no experience. And then you tell me investment in education pays. Then there's a question. If I'm not seeing the result, then why would I? And funny enough, it's not like I didn't do. I did well. Graduating best from my class. You understand? Did very very well. So I don't see why there should be that. So I don't know. I believe there's one reason why a lot of them opt to travel outside to school.
Is that also what you want to do?
I believe one can equally make it here. I strongly believe in that. I'm sure if it was somebody, because I have friends who tell me, hey Andrew, with your grades by now, you should have gotten some scholarship somewhere, crowd. Yeah, a lot of them, they tell me, I'm like, see, I'm not being disobedient to anything, but if I can't trust my own system, Then when I become a world leader and I've not been through the system, I wouldn't see what is wrong because I learned outside. That's what most of these leaders are. Most of them learned outside. Their children are learning outside. So what happens to ours? If the brilliant ones are going outside, who should stay here to build the economy? So for those who have actually gone and have learned something, should come down practically, build us, Yes. So if there should even be any external, if we should sort for any external assistance in terms of technology and practical, it should be a collaboration, not a total takeover by the Western world. It should be a collaboration. So at the end of the day, our people have would learn something, but we are just there, and we always taking calling and bringing people from outside. The professors, they come back, and I honestly don't know what to say. I'm really I'm really really disturbed.
Do you regret that you didn't choose law?
I do. I so much do. I said I will never compromise again, regardless. I will never, because I later found out that my dad would have managed to pay anyways. I would never compromise. I would go for what I want, regardless. Because I do. Because I'm sure had I read the law, I would have found my interest. Because I'm naturally a socialist. Fight for the people. Even in my extracurricular activity, is there. Like, it's very important. If you're not doing it, we can't wait for the government or any other body to do it. Yes. So it's very important. I would have probably gone into human rights or something. But I believe everything has its course. God himself, yes, has his own plan. So I actually consider doing environmental law now with an HR background. Yes, with an HR background. In experience, I intend to also do a master's in HR and then also see how best I can.
I
Yeah.
think that's a brilliant idea to do environmental law, because also during this conversation I hear your heart, you have a heart for the community, and I can hear that you were even willing to compromise your own grades for the performances of your students when you were doing some teaching. This is also a question that I want to ask you. Maybe there are no avenues right now. Isn't it also a matter, and especially this century with your generation, this generation has actually been encouraged to create these jobs themselves? If the government is not doing it for you, if the institution is not doing it, and maybe your generation is being pushed to create these jobs themselves.
Yeah, you're very right. I believe so too. Because a lot of my friends, I believe, are also looking out to start their own businesses. Yes. For some have actually managed to secure a job. It's not paying well though, but they are not there for the money. They are there for the experience to build up and see how best they can start their own businesses. So if the avenues are not there, I believe our generation will look out to start something. Yes, yes, because there's money in environment and development. There's lots of money, a lot of money, but it's underutilized. Because from waste generation, the way people undermine waste here in Ghana, I'm surprised. The money you can make from plastics, plastic bottles, any kind of plastics or rubber, to scraps, metallic scraps, to these malt cans and carbonated canned drinks and all that. There's a lot of money that in that area alone. You understand? And I don't know, but we are not really taking this environment thing seriously at all.
But if we are not doing it and you see it, then maybe you should take it on.
Oh, gradually I do, but personally at home, because I've tried my best. I do gather my rubber in plastic bottles. So there's this lady who does picking. My auntie herself, she does picking. Like sometimes her area, then she'll sell it off. So I told her, oh, I'll just gather them and give it to her. So I do that most of the time. During Actus, I had the opportunity in fact, as a group of like-minded people, to start something, which led us to the a beach cleanup exercise as part of 2019's project, Go Clean Beach Invasion, in collaboration with Leo Club and then Pram Senior High School, students from Pram Senior High School. So we embarked on that cleanup exercise, and the tons of waste we got. You understand? So money can be generated, and it just needs work and a lot of funding support. Because you can't tell me if I bring a ton of plastic bottles, you would give me 500 cedis for that work. A ton. You're looking over. I can't give any specific amount of plastic, but because of the sizes and the weight, but it's a lot of plastic bottles for a ton. And then you give the person 500 cedis for the work done. It's not encouraging. So it needs a lot of funding. If people are encouraged, it will surprise you. Graduates who don't have any job doing will find job doing, because there are events going on 24/7. Saturdays and weekends are event days, weddings, ceremonies, and all that. I don't mind wearing my working gear, nice with a nice bag. After they are done with the event, I just go gather the plastic bottles into the bag. What's wrong with that? I hold a degree, so what? It doesn't matter. Then if it fetches me at least something, a good amount of money, why not? So it could be something I can be doing on weekends, like on my free time. You understand? Maybe if God willing, we have a machine, a vending machine that you just you drop your rubber and your bottles, and then it's able to calculate them into money, and it gives it to you. Fine. We get there, gradually, because it's becoming an issue, and the president made a promise that he would make Accra the cleanest city, a whole lot of things, and we are not seeing
Ghana
it.
clean.
Keep Ghana clean. We are not seeing it. It's high time our leaders, they stick to their words, and are able to implement them, because it's a very big issue.
What is Andy going to do after his national service extension? What are you going to do?
Okay, for me, because of how stagnant things are, because, I'm grown now, I need money. I don't want to be so much focused on money, but it's essential, you understand? So, for me currently, I intend to do my master's.
And are you going to be part of the generation that has fled Ghana and is never coming back, or are you going to be part of the generation that will stay here?
I'm staying, yeah. Even if I go, I'll come back. No matter how, I would have to come. I will come, because Ghana is our home. If you live here, who should come and build it for you? You see, and now Ghana has now got to the point where the president now has to come and bring initiatives and stuff too. Fine, I know it's promotes tourism by letting the
diaspora.
Yeah, the diasporans come down. It's a very good initiative, but it shouldn't get there. It shouldn't get there. Because if you really, really love your country, I don't think you would like to stay there forever and not come back. You wouldn't. You wouldn't, because you can't. It may be for those who have citizenship and stuff over there, they can do whatever they like and not be bothered about Ghana. But Ghana is just one. We don't have any Ghana anywhere again. So it's upon us. So the youth has to stand up. The youth seriously needs to stand up. And honestly, I feel really sad when I see the youth seriously taking part in politics. Active politics, and not just any propaganda, filthy propaganda, and it's very serious. Very, very serious.
Why is that not a good thing if they are politically engaged? Why is that not a good thing?
If you're politically engaged, even if you should be politically engaged, it means you share the same sentiments and policy strategies of a particular party. You don't show loyalty to a party. The first thing as a citizen is to be loyal to your country, not party. So if you find yourself being loyal to a party, then it means you should check yourself. You can share the same ideology of a party. You understand? And say, oh, okay, for this particular, that's the problem we have here. So it makes, oh, I'm NDC, oh, I'm MPP. And they've tagged themselves with that kind of thing. If you had a youth that were very, very conscious, and they understood and they were knowledgeable enough, in-depth knowledge, have in-depth knowledge about these things, and then see, okay, so policies will be good. Okay, so let me see this, that. Okay, then I share this ideology with this particular party for this election period. That's all. So with that, nobody comes to bribery. You don't die. So people be like, ride or die. MPP will end this, ride or die. That kind of, like, are you loyal to a party? You are loyal to a party before your nation. Like, so when you become a leader, your loyalty goes to the party first. That's very, very bad. So that's why we find ourselves in this situation. It wasn't that these politicians really have a say. They only have a say.
Yeah, so you're saying is your loyalty to the party comes at the expense of your loyalty to the country, because it's becoming less about the what is good for the country and more about what's good for the party, right? Okay. Is there some final words you want to say before we round up?
Yes. I would like to tell whoever who may listen to, whichever person may listen to this podcast, to know that apart from God, no one will look out for you. Not the government. Not even our parents. Apart from God. You know, because I believe God would use a human being. He will work through a human being to get to us. So our hope and faith should be, and trust should be in God. And then secondly, in whichever position you find yourself, the little you can do. There's nothing too small. The little. As I'm here now trying to convince you and trying to build your spirit, you can also find somebody to do same. To build the person's spirit. Encourage the person, the little they can do. Because the future, we are the future basically. And if those in power are not doing what we want, it's not our responsibility to be screaming and shouting on social media and put our anger and frustrations on them on social media. It's a waste of time. Close that particular social media, whatever thing you're doing, and start doing something. The little thing. If you were walking and you saw, all the time you've been passing in front of maybe a gutter, and you see a woman and her maybe 3 children or 4 children there. You've been passing all the time, you've been seeing them. And the thought of them, whether eating or not eating, has ever crossed your mind, then you are part of the problem. If their thoughts have never crossed through your mind, then you're also part of the problem. You should check that. So gradually, you start checking certain petty things because you don't know where you will be. So that's all I can say. Check yourself.
This was well spoken by Andrew's knee Martey. Thank you for being my first guest on the podcast series In Full Bloom.
Thank you.
I hope you are feeling that you are in full bloom. And I also hope that you will come back. Maybe the next season, I will ask some of my guests back to see, have you made progress and what have you been doing after you have left Central University.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Wish you very well and God bless you. You have been listening to another episode of our podcast series In Full Bloom. Presented and produced by me, Lisbeth John Amel. I am the radio studio manager and a broadcasting teacher here at Central University. Throughout the years, I have had many open and honest conversations with young adults about finding their own path in life. Some of them have made an everlasting impression because of their unique view of the world around them. In this sequel of in-depth interviews, you and their peers have a chance to be inspired by them. Stay tuned in for the next episode of In Full Bloom.